Now let's begin. The morning started like any other Saturday. Marcus McDaniel stood in his kitchen, watching his 6-year-old son Danny devour chocolate chip pancakes, while his wife Carla scrolled through her phone. The sun filtered through the curtains, painting everything gold, and for a moment, Marcus felt that rare sense of complete contentment. "Dad's really excited about today," Carla said, not looking up. "He's been talking about teaching Danny to swim for months." Marcus paused mid-sip of his coffee. "Your dad? I thought we were going to enroll Danny in those lessons at the community center." Carla finally looked up, her expression defensive in that way she got whenever Marcus questioned anything about her family. "Why pay for lessons when my father can teach him for free? He taught me to swim, and I turned out fine." That wasn't entirely true. Marcus had noticed Carla never actually swam, despite claiming her father had taught her. She'd sit by pools, dip her feet in, but never actually get in the water. He'd asked her about it once, and she'd snapped at him to drop it. "Danny's pretty young. Maybe we should." "Marcus, please. My father knows what he's doing. He was a lifeguard in college." Marcus studied his wife's face. They'd been married 8 years, together for 10. He knew when to push and when to let things go. This felt like something he should push on, but Danny's excited voice cut through his hesitation. "Grandpa Andre is going to teach me to swim? Really?" Marcus looked at his son's bright eyes and felt his resistance crumble. "Yeah, buddy. Really." Andre Hartman arrived at noon in his pristine silver Lexus, stepping out in expensive swim trunks and a polo shirt that probably cost more than Marcus's entire outfit. At 63, Andre was still imposing, tall, broad-shouldered, with silver hair perfectly styled even for a day at the lake. He'd made his fortune in real estate development, and he never let anyone forget it. "My grandson," Andre boomed, scooping Danny up with practiced ease. "Ready to become a fish today?" Danny giggled, and Marcus watched his father-in-law's smile. It was too wide, too perfect. Andre had that politician's ability to smile with his mouth, while his eyes remained cold and calculating. Marcus had never warmed to the man, but Carla worshipped her father, and Marcus had learned to tolerate him for her sake. "I'll come with you," Marcus offered. "Nonsense." Andre waved him off. "Quality time with my grandson. Besides, Carla tells me you've got that project deadline Monday. You should work." Marcus looked at Carla, who nodded encouragingly. "It's fine, honey. Dad's got this." Against every instinct screaming at him, Marcus watched his son drive away with Andre Hartman. He tried to work, tried to focus on the architectural designs spread across his home office desk. Marcus had built his small firm from nothing, designing custom homes for clients who wanted something unique. It was good work, creative work, but today the lines blurred and his mind kept drifting to Danny. At 2:47 p.m., his phone rang. Russell Wilson from 2 houses down. "Marcus, you need to come to Silver Lake. Now." Russell's voice was tight, controlled in that way that meant panic was right beneath the surface. "It's Danny." Marcus's stomach dropped. "What happened?" "Just come. Fast." The drive to Silver Lake took 12 minutes. 12 minutes where Marcus's mind conjured every terrible possibility, each one worse than the last. He barely remembered parking, just the image of the crowd gathered on the shore, the ambulance, the paramedics bent over a small form. "Danny." Marcus shoved through the crowd. His son lay on the rocky shore, lips blue, skin pale as death. A paramedic was doing chest compressions while another held an oxygen mask ready. Marcus couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at his baby boy who looked so small and broken. "Come on, kid," the paramedic muttered. "Come on." Danny's body jerked. Water spewed from his mouth. He coughed, gasped, and started crying. The most beautiful sound Marcus had ever heard. "Dad." Danny's voice was raw, terrified. Marcus dropped to his knees, reaching for his son, but the paramedics held him back. "Sir, we need to get him to the hospital. He's breathing, but we need to make sure his lungs are clear." "What happened?" Marcus's voice came out strangled. "We don't know. Someone called it in. Kid was floating face down when we got here." Marcus's head snapped around, searching the crowd. There. Andre stood near his Lexus, still in his swim trunks, arms crossed. And he was smiling. Not a relieved smile. Not a grateful smile. A small, satisfied smile, like someone who'd just won a private bet. Their eyes met. Andre's smile widened slightly before he arranged his features into appropriate concern. "Marcus." Thank God they got to him in time. These things happened so fast. Where were you? Marcus's voice was deadly quiet. Teaching him to swim, of course. I turned away for 1 second. Bullshit. Marcus took a step forward. Danny knows not to go in deep water alone. What did you do, sir? A female paramedic touched Marcus's arm. Her voice was gentle but urgent. You need to see something before we transport. She guided him back to Danny, who was now on a gurney, wrapped in a thermal blanket. The paramedic carefully turned Danny onto his side. Look at his back. Marcus looked. His blood turned to ice. For parallel gashes ran down Danny's back, from shoulder blades to lower back. Deep, angry red, bleeding. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the pattern, perfectly spaced, deliberate. And around them, bruising in the distinct shape of large hands pressed hard into a small body. Those look like fingernail marks, the paramedic said quietly. And the bruising, sir, someone held him down. Hard. For a while. Marcus's vision tunneled. The sounds of the crowd faded. All he could see were those marks on his son's skin. All he could hear was his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. Someone had held his son underwater. Deliberately. Hard enough to leave marks. He turned to Andre. His father-in-law's smile was gone now, replaced by wide-eyed innocence. I have no idea how that happened. Maybe the rocks. Those aren't from rocks. The paramedic's voice was hard now. Sir, we're required to report this. This is abuse. Marcus moved before he could think, closing the distance to Andre in 3 strides. He grabbed the older man's polo shirt, bunching it in his fists. What did you do to my son? Andre didn't flinch. Up close, Marcus saw something flicker in those cold eyes. Something dark and pleased. I taught him to swim, Andre said calmly. You should be thanking me. I saved his life. Sir. Multiple hands pulled Marcus back. Russell and 2 other men from the neighborhood. Not here. Not now. Marcus let them pull him away, but he kept his eyes locked on Andre. His father-in-law straightened his shirt, that small smile returning. These accusations are serious, Marcus. I hope you'll think carefully before making any more of them. I'm a respected member of this community. I have lawyers. Think about what's best for your family. The threat was clear. Andre Hartman had money, power, connections. And he knew it. The ambulance pulled away with Danny inside, Marcus following in his truck. In his rearview mirror, he saw Andre get into his Lexus, completely unruffled, and drive away in the opposite direction. At the hospital, Carla was already in Danny's room. She'd beaten him there somehow. Her eyes were red but dry, her jaw set in that stubborn way Marcus knew too well. The doctors want to keep him overnight, she said, not meeting his eyes. For observation. Carla. Marcus kept his voice level. Did you see his back? I saw. Her voice was flat. Your father did that. You don't know that. Marcus stared at his wife. Are you serious right now? He nearly drowned our son. He left marks. My father saved him. The paramedics told me he pulled Danny out, called 911, stayed with him until they arrived. You're twisting everything because you've never liked him. Jesus Christ, Carla. Look at Danny. I am looking at him. He's alive. Thanks to my father. A nurse stepped in, her expression carefully neutral. I'm sorry, but you're disturbing other patients. Mr. McDaniel, there's a detective here who wants to speak with you. Detective Jamie Hammond was a tired-looking man in his 40s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. They moved to a private consultation room. The hospital flagged this as potential abuse, Hammond said, pulling out a notepad. Walk me through what happened. Marcus told him everything. The swimming lesson. Arriving to find Danny drowning. The marks. Andre's smile. When he finished, Hammond leaned back in his chair. The marks are definitely suspicious. And the bruising pattern is consistent with someone holding him down. But here's the problem. Andre Hartman called 911 himself. He gave a statement that Danny panicked in the water, started thrashing, and Andre tried to hold him still to calm him down. Says the marks must have happened then, accidentally. That's bullshit. You saw the marks. Those were deliberate. What I think doesn't matter. What I can prove matters. And right now, I've got a grandfather who called for help, stayed until paramedics arrived, and has an explanation that, while suspicious, isn't impossible. Hammond leaned forward. Here's what I can do. I'll open an investigation. I'll interview witnesses. But Marcus, you need to understand, Andre Hartman has resources. He's already called his lawyers. They're pushing the narrative that this was a tragic accident and you're a paranoid father looking for someone to blame. So he gets away with it. I didn't say that. But building a case takes time. Meanwhile, I'd suggest keeping your son far away from Andre Hartman. After Hammond left, Marcus sat alone in the hallway. Through the window of Danny's room, he could see Carla sitting beside their son's bed, holding his small hand. She was talking to someone on her phone, probably her mother. Or worse, Andre himself. Marcus pulled out his own phone and made a call. Troy Hansen. Troy, it's Marcus. I need your help. Troy Hansen had been Marcus's best friend since college. Where Marcus had gone into architecture, Troy had become an investigative journalist. If anyone could dig up dirt on Andre Hartman, it was Troy. What's going on? Marcus told him. Everything. When he finished, there was a long silence. Jesus, Marcus. I'm sorry. What do you need? Everything you can find on Andre Hartman. Every piece of his past. Every skeleton in his closet. Everything. You thinking what I think you're thinking? He hurt my son, Troy, and he's going to pay for it. I'll start digging. But Marcus, be careful. Men like Hartman don't go down easy. I'm counting on it. Marcus ended the call and stood, straightening his shoulders. Through the window, Danny was awake now, talking to Carla. Even from here, Marcus could see the fear in his son's eyes. Andre Hartman thought his money and lawyers would protect him. He thought he could hurt a child and walk away smiling. He was wrong. Marcus McDaniel was many things. An architect, a husband, a father. But he was also a man who understood that some structures needed to be carefully dismantled, piece by piece, until the whole thing came crashing down. And he was going to dismantle Andre Hartman. The hospital kept Danny for 36 hours. In that time, Marcus learned more about his son's ordeal than he wanted to know. The doctors confirmed severe bruising, lacerations, and signs of water aspiration that indicated prolonged submersion. Danny, when he finally talked, said things in fragments that made Marcus's hands shake with rage. Grandpa Andre held my head down, said I needed to learn not to be scared. I couldn't breathe. But in front of the police, with Carla present, Danny became quiet, confused. Carla would touch his hand and ask leading questions. Did Grandpa try to save you? Did you panic and thrash around? And Danny, 6 years old and desperate for his mother's approval, would nod uncertainly. Marcus watched his wife undermine their son's testimony and felt something fundamental break between them. On Monday morning, Marcus's phone rang while he was making coffee in his silent house. Carla had taken Danny to her mother's place to recover in peace. Translation, away from Marcus and his paranoid accusations. Marcus McDaniel? Speaking. This is Theodore Alvarado. I'm an attorney representing Andre Hartman. My client wanted me to reach out directly to discuss this unfortunate situation. Marcus's grip tightened on his mug. What do you want? Mr. Hartman is deeply concerned about his grandson's well-being and the family division this incident has caused. He's prepared to offer a gesture of goodwill, covering all of Danny's medical expenses, plus a $25,000 settlement for the family's distress. In exchange, you'd sign an agreement acknowledging this was a tragic accident and that you hold no ill will toward Mr. Hartman. You mean hush money. I mean a compassionate gesture from a grandfather who loves his family. Tell Andre Hartman he can shove his money up his ass. Mr. McDaniel, I'd advise you to think carefully. Marcus hung up. His phone immediately rang again. Different number. Marcus, it's Troy. You need to hear this. What did you find? Enough to make me want to throw up. Can you meet me at Murphy's Diner? 1 hour. Murphy's was a hole-in-the-wall place near the old industrial district. Marcus found Troy in the back booth, laptop open, surrounded by papers. His friend looked like he hadn't slept. Tell me, Marcus said, sliding into the booth. Troy pushed a folder across the table. Andre Hartman, 63 years old, made his fortune in real estate development, like everyone knows. But here's what they don't know. He opened the folder to a newspaper clipping from 1987. Hartman was investigated, not charged, investigated, for the death of a 9-year-old boy at a summer camp he ran. Kid drowned in the lake. Witnesses said Hartman was supervising at the time. Investigation went nowhere. Hartman's family had money even then. Marcus's pulse quickened. Keep going. 1993, another incident. Different summer camp, different state. This time a kid survived, but had to be hospitalized. Same story. Nearly drowned during a swimming lesson with Hartman. Kid's family was poor, accepted a settlement, signed an NDA. I found the lawyer who handled it. He's retired now. Off the record, he told me it stank, but the family needed the money. Jesus Christ. There's more. I found 3 other incidents. Not all drownings. In 1998, a boy at a youth facility Hartman volunteered at fell downstairs. Broke his arm in 3 places. In 2004, another accident at a pool. I found 7 cases total spanning 30 years. Marcus. 7 kids hurt under Andre Hartman's supervision. All ruled accidents. All settled quietly. Marcus stared at the pages. His hands were shaking. He's been doing this for 30 years. Getting away with it. And it's not random. I noticed a pattern. Troy pulled out another page, this one with notes in his handwriting. All boys. All between 6 and 10 years old. All situations involving water or heights where accidents seem plausible. And Marcus. They all had dark hair and brown eyes. Like Danny. The diner seemed to tilt. He has a type. He's a predator. A careful, methodical predator who's learned exactly how to hurt kids and make it look accidental. The settlements, the NDAs, his lawyers, it's a system he's perfected over decades. Marcus felt sick. Why? Why does he do it? Power. Control. Some sick need to dominate and terrify children. The psychologist I consulted off the record said it sounds like a sadist who's found a way to satisfy his urges while maintaining his respectable image. What about Carla? Could he have? Troy's expression darkened. I don't know. But Marcus, when I talked to people who knew the Hartman family back in the day, they described Carla as a scared, withdrawn kid who became very eager to please around adolescence. And she refused to learn to swim despite her father supposedly teaching her. Marcus closed his eyes. His wife. Jesus Christ. His wife might have been one of Andre's victims too, and she'd buried it so deep she couldn't even remember. Or maybe she did remember and had convinced herself it was normal. Does Detective Hammond know this? I sent him everything an hour ago. But Marcus, here's the problem. Most of these incidents are old. The witnesses are scattered or dead. The NDAs mean people can't talk without legal consequences. The one family I managed to contact is terrified of Andre. He's ruined people who've crossed him. And with his lawyers and money, he'll get away with it again. Unless you give Hammond something concrete. Something recent and provable. Troy met his eyes. Or unless you handle this yourself. They sat in silence. Around them, the diner buzzed with normal life. People eating lunch, talking about normal problems. Marcus felt disconnected from it all, floating in a rage so cold and clear it was almost peaceful. I need to see those families, Marcus said finally. The ones you found. Can you arrange it? Marcus, I don't think. Can you arrange it? Troy nodded slowly. Yeah, I can try. Marcus drove home to an empty house. No Carla. No Danny. Just silence in his own thoughts. He went to his office and looked at the architectural designs on his desk. The Martinez house he was designing. A beautiful home for a beautiful family. He'd built his career on understanding structures. How they stood up, where the weak points were, how to reinforce or how to bring them down safely. People weren't so different. Everyone had a structure, a foundation they stood on. Andre Hartman's foundation was his reputation, his standing in the community, his image as a respected businessman and family man. That's what protected him. That's what let him hurt children for 30 years. Marcus pulled out a fresh sheet of paper and began to draw. Not a house. Something else. A structure of his own. A plan. If the law couldn't bring Andre Hartman down, Marcus would have to demolish him himself. But he'd need to be smart. Patient. Build his case piece by piece, stone by stone, until Andre's entire life came crashing down around him. And then, when Andre was broken and exposed, Marcus would make him feel exactly what Danny felt. What all those other boys felt. Terror. Helplessness. The absolute certainty that no one was coming to save you. His phone buzzed. A text from Carla. We need to talk. I'm filing for separation. My lawyer will contact you. Marcus stared at the message. Part of him wanted to scream, to rage, to call her and beg her to see reason. But another part, the cold calculating part that was taking over, saw the opportunity. Without Carla and Danny in the house, he could work freely. No one to question his late nights or suspicious activities. And legally, he'd have grounds to fight for custody, especially once he proved Andre was a danger to children. He texted back. Understood. Then he opened his laptop and started a file. Project Hartman, he labeled it. Beneath that, he began listing everything he knew, everything Troy had found, and everything he needed to discover. By midnight, he had the outline of a plan. By 2 a.m., He'd made his first moves. By dawn, Marcus McDaniel was no longer just a father seeking justice. He was a man on a mission to destroy another man completely. The first family Troy had found was the Monroes. They lived 3 states over in a small town that time had forgotten. Marcos Monroe answered the door, a man in his late 40s with permanent worry lines and suspicious eyes. "You the guy Troy told me about?" "Marcus McDaniel. Thank you for agreeing to meet me." Marcos looked him over, then stepped back. "My wife don't want to talk, but I'll tell you what I can. You got 20 minutes. The Monroe house was small but tidy, filled with family photos. Marcus noticed one picture of a young boy, maybe 9 or 10, was turned face down on the mantel. "That's Jamie," Marcos said, catching his look. "My son. He'd be 32 now if he'd lived." Marcus's chest tightened. "I'm sorry. Andre Hartman killed my boy. Don't matter that the death certificate says accidental drowning. I know what I know." Marcos sat heavily on a worn couch. "Summer of '87. We sent Jamie to this fancy camp. Cost us everything, but we wanted him to have opportunities we never had. Hartman ran the camp. Rich man playing at charity, we thought. What happened? 3rd week, they went to the lake. Hartman was supervising the swimming. Witnesses said Jamie was doing fine. Then suddenly he was underwater. They pulled him out, but..." Marcos's voice cracked. "They said he panicked and drowned. But the marks on his body, bruises, scratches, they didn't match that story. You tried to investigate?" "Of course we did. But Hartman's family had money and lawyers. They painted us as grieving parents looking for someone to blame. The camp's insurance company settled quick and quiet. We were broke from the funeral. We had 2 other kids to feed. We took the money and signed the papers saying we wouldn't talk about it. But you're talking now. Because Troy said you had a son who Hartman hurt. Because I've spent 35 years wondering if I could have stopped him from hurting other kids, if I'd fought harder." Marcos met his eyes. "That man is evil, Mr. McDaniel. Pure evil wearing an expensive suit. And he's smart. He knows how to hurt kids in ways that look like accidents. He knows how to pick victims whose families can't fight back. My family has resources. I can fight. Then fight. Fight for Jamie. Fight for all the boys he's hurt. But be careful." Marcos leaned forward. "Hartman don't just have money. He has connections. Politicians, judges, cops. He's spent decades building a network that protects him. You go after him straight on, he'll crush you like a bug. What if I don't go at him straight on?" Marcos smiled grimly. "Then maybe you got a chance." Marcus drove to the next family that afternoon. The Changs lived in a suburb 2 hours north. Unlike the Monroes, they'd done well for themselves. Large house, luxury cars in the driveway. But when Robbie Chong opened the door, Marcus saw the same haunted look. "Come in," Robbie said. "My wife made tea." Laura Chong was elegant, composed, but her hands shook slightly as she poured. Their son Carol, now 26, sat in an armchair, silent. "Carol can tell you himself what happened," Laura said. "He's ready to talk now." Finally, Carol looked at Marcus with hollow eyes. "I was 8. My parents sent me to this youth swimming program. Mr. Hartman volunteered there, big donor, respected member of the community. Everyone trusted him. His voice was flat, practiced, like he'd rehearsed this. He offered me private lessons. Said I had potential. My parents were thrilled." "Carol, you don't have to," Robbie started. "Yeah, Dad, I do." Carol's jaw tightened. "3rd lesson, he held me underwater. Said he was teaching me breath control. But he kept me down too long. I thought I was going to die. When he finally let me up, I was coughing, crying. He told me I was being weak. That strong boys don't cry. That if I told anyone, they'd think I was a failure." Laura's eyes filled with tears. "He did it again the next lesson. And the next. Each time a little longer. I started having nightmares, panic attacks. My parents thought I was just stressed about school. Then one day, he held me down so long I passed out. The lifeguard saw, pulled me out. I ended up in the hospital." Hartman said Carol panicked during a lesson. Robbie said bitterly that he tried to save him. "We believed him because why wouldn't we? He was this pillar of the community. And Carol wouldn't talk about it. He just shut down. Took me 15 years of therapy to even admit what happened," Carol said. "Even now, I can't be around water. Can't take baths, just quick showers. The smell of chlorine makes me vomit." He looked at Marcus. "Your son, how is he? Alive? Scared?" "My wife doesn't believe it was intentional." Carol laughed bitterly. "Of course she doesn't. That's Hartman's genius. He's so good at seeming normal, helpful, concerned. Even his victims doubt themselves. I doubted myself for years. Thought maybe I really was just a weak kid who panicked. But you know better now. Now I know I was a child who was tortured by an adult who got off on it. And I know he's still out there, still hurting kids, because people like my parents, he looked at them apologetically. Good people, smart people, took his settlement money and signed the NDAs and moved on. We did what we thought was best, Laura said quietly. We were wrong. If you testify, Marcus said. If you break the NDA, we'll do it, Robbie said immediately. All three of us. Sue us, bankrupt us, we don't care anymore. Our silence let him hurt your son. Let him hurt God knows how many others. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. These weren't just stories anymore. These were allies. Witnesses. Ammunition. I need to ask you something difficult, Marcus said. Did Hartman ever? Was there a sexual component to the abuse? The Changs looked at each other. Laura spoke carefully. We don't know for certain. Carol says no, but the therapist thinks the water torture might have been sexual for Hartman. A power thing. It was about control, Carol said. About having complete power over someone helpless. Whether that's sexual or not. He shrugged. Does it matter? He got off on hurting kids. Marcus spent 3 more days visiting families. Each story was a variation on the same nightmare. Each family had been silenced, bought off, threatened. But now, with Marcus as a catalyst, they were ready to talk. On day 4, Detective Hammond called. McDaniel, I've been going through the information your friend sent me. It's explosive stuff. But here's the problem. Most of it is inadmissible. Old cases, settlements with NDAs, hearsay. For a criminal case, I need something concrete. What about Danny? His testimony, the medical evidence, isn't enough. Hartman's lawyers are already building the accident narrative. They've got expert witnesses ready to testify that the marks could have been caused by Danny thrashing in panic. And without Danny's clear testimony, my wife coached him. I know. I could see it in the interview. But proving that in court. Hammond sighed. Look, I'm not giving up. But I need you to understand. This isn't going to be quick or easy. And there's a good chance Hartman walks. What if I could get him to confess? Silence. Then, I didn't hear that. And if I did, I'd tell you that any confession obtained through illegal means is inadmissible and could land you in jail. But if someone happened to record him confessing voluntarily, then I'd be very interested in hearing it. But Marcus, be smart. Don't do anything that puts you on the wrong side of the law. After hanging up, Marcus sat in his truck outside the last family's house. The sun was setting, painting the sky blood red. He thought about Danny's blue lips. About Jamie Monroe's turned-down picture. About Carol Chang's hollow eyes. He thought about Andre Hartman's smile. Marcus pulled out his phone and made a call to someone he'd hoped never to contact again. The phone rang 4 times before a gravelly voice answered. Well, Marcus McDaniel. Didn't think I'd hear from you again. Hello, Earl. I need a favor. Earl Draper had been Marcus's college roommate before dropping out junior year for reasons that were never fully explained. He'd gone on to a career in what he vaguely called private security, which Marcus suspected meant things that weren't entirely legal. They'd stayed in loose touch, meeting for drinks once a year or so, but Marcus had always kept Earl at arm's length. Now, he needed someone with flexible morals and useful skills. What kind of favor? Earl asked. The kind we don't discuss over the phone. Can you meet me? This about your kid? Troy mentioned something when he called asking about surveillance equipment. It's about making sure the man who hurt my kid pays for it. I'm listening. Where and when? They met at a bar in the industrial district, the kind of place where people minded their own business. Earl looked the same, shaved head, scarred knuckles, eyes that had seen too much. Tell me what you need, Earl said over whiskey. Marcus told him everything. When he finished, Earl nodded slowly. Hartman's the type who thinks he's untouchable. Good. That makes him arrogant, and arrogant people make mistakes. Can you help me? Depends what you're asking for. You want surveillance? I can do that. You want dirt dug up? I know people. You want something more. Earl paused. That depends on how far you're willing to go. As far as necessary. Earl studied him. You've changed. The Marcus I knew in college wouldn't have said that. The Marcus from college didn't have a son who nearly died. Fair enough. Earl pulled out a small notebook. Here's what I can do. I can set up surveillance on Hartman, audio, video, tracking. I can dig into his financials, find things his lawyers missed. And I know a guy who's good at creating situations where people reveal their true selves. What kind of situations? The kind where someone like Hartman thinks he's safe and lets his guard down. Maybe encounters a kid who seems vulnerable. Maybe gets provoked and is showing his real nature. That's entrapment. Only if cops do it. Private citizens can be as creative as they want, long as no one gets hurt. Earl grinned. Well, no one who doesn't deserve it. Marcus thought about Detective Hammond's warning. About the law. About what was right and wrong. Then he thought about Danny's screams from nightmares. About how his son flinched when bathwater touched his face. About Carla's text saying she was keeping Danny away from Marcus because he was unstable. Do it, Marcus said. All of it. This won't be cheap. I don't care about money. I care about results. You'll get them. But Marcus, once we start this, we can't stop halfway. Hartman will know someone's coming for him. If we don't take him down completely, he'll come back at you with everything he's got. Then we take him down completely. Earl raised his glass. To complete demolition. Marcus clinked glasses, and for the first time in days, he felt a spark of something other than rage. He felt purpose. Over the next 2 weeks, Earl assembled a team. Marcus never met them directly, but he saw their work. Suddenly, he had access to Andre's calendar, his phone records, his financial transactions. Earl installed cameras and microphones in places Marcus didn't ask about. Your father-in-law's creature of habit, Earl reported. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he goes to the Riverside Country Club, spends 2 hours in the sauna and steam room. Very particular about his routine. Any kids around? Not at the club. But Earl pulled out his tablet, showing surveillance footage. 3 times in the last month, he stopped at Westfield Park on his way home. Sits on a bench near the playground. Just watches. Doesn't approach anyone. Doesn't do anything illegal. Just watches. Marcus felt his skin crawl. He's hunting. That'd be my guess. Looking for his next opportunity. What about his house? Any way to get inside. His security is good, but not impossible. What? Marcus pulled out his own notebook, filled with sketches and notes. Because I need to know more about him. Who he really is when no one's watching. His wife, Yolanda, she must know something. You want me to approach her? No. I will. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Marcus received an envelope delivered to his office. Inside was a handwritten note on expensive stationery. Mr. McDaniel, I understand you have concerns about my husband. Perhaps we should talk. Come to the house tomorrow at 2 p.m. Andre will be out. Yolanda Hartman. Marcus showed the note to Earl, who was immediately suspicious. Could be a setup. Hartman might know we're investigating him. Or his wife might actually want to talk. Either way, you should be wired. I'll be nearby. The next day, Marcus drove to the Hartman estate with a recording device hidden in his jacket. The house was massive, a modern architectural marvel worth several million. Yolanda answered the door herself, no staff in sight. Mr. McDaniel. Thank you for coming. Yolanda Hartman was in her early 60s, impeccably dressed, with the kind of beauty that came from excellent genes and expensive maintenance. But her eyes were tired, and Marcus noticed her hands trembled slightly. Mrs. Hartman, I appreciate you seeing me. Please, call me Yolanda. Come in. She led him to a sunroom overlooking manicured gardens. Tea was already prepared. It felt surreal, sitting across from the wife of the man who'd tried to kill his son. Sipping Earl Grey like this was a social call. I'll be direct, Yolanda said. I know what Andre did to your son. Marcus froze. You know? I've known what my husband is for 40 years. Her voice was calm, matter of fact. I've known and done nothing, which makes me complicit. I understand if you hate me. Why are you telling me this? Yolanda set down her teacup. Because I'm dying. Cancer. Stage 4. 6 months, maybe less. And before I go, I need to do at least one right thing. She looked at him directly. Andre is a monster. A careful, methodical monster, but a monster nonetheless. And I've protected him because I was afraid. Afraid of losing everything. The house, the money, the social standing. Afraid of what he might do if I crossed him. What might he do? I don't know. That's the terror of it. In 40 years of marriage, Andre has never once raised his voice to me. Never hit me. Never overtly threatened me. But I've always known that beneath his civility is something dark and vicious. Something that enjoys causing pain. Did he hurt your children? Yolanda's face crumbled. I had 3 children. Carla, and 2 sons, Jeffrey and Lorenzo. Lorenzo died when he was 7. Drowning accident during a family vacation. Andre was supervising. She met Marcus's eyes. It was ruled an accident. But I knew. I knew and I did nothing. Marcus felt the world tilt. Jesus Christ. Jeffrey figured it out eventually. Why Lorenzo really died. Why Carla was so afraid of water, so desperate to please her father. Jeffrey confronted Andre when he was 22. 2 weeks later, Jeffrey died in a car accident. Single vehicle, ran off the road. Yolanda's voice shook. The police said he was drunk. But Jeffrey didn't drink. And I found the brake fluid reservoir in the garage days later, freshly refilled. You think Andre tampered with his car. I know he did. Just like I know he killed Lorenzo. Just like I know he's hurt other children over the years. He thinks I don't know, but I've found the settlements, the NDAs, the payoffs hidden in our finances. I've counted at least 8 families he's paid off. Why didn't you go to the police? With what evidence? Andre is meticulous. Everything looks like accidents or coincidence. And who would believe me? The wealthy socialite wife accusing her pillar of the community husband? His lawyers would destroy my credibility. They'd say I was bitter, crazy, jealous. Yolanda laughed bitterly. Probably paint me as an unstable woman making wild accusations because of the cancer diagnosis. But you're telling me now. Because you're the first person who might actually be able to stop him. You're smart, motivated, and you have resources. Most of his victims' families were poor or easily intimidated. You're not. She reached into her purse and pulled out a USB drive. This contains copies of everything I could find. Financial records showing the settlements. Emails between Andre and his lawyers. My own notes documenting suspicious incidents over the years. It's not enough for a criminal conviction. Andre's too careful for that. But it might be enough to destroy him in other ways. Marcus took the drive, his hand shaking slightly. Why give this to me? He's your husband. He's a murderer who killed my sons and tortured my daughter. Whatever love I had for him died with Lorenzo. Yolanda stood, suddenly looking every year of her age. Mr. McDaniel, I can't undo the past. I can't bring back the children Andre has hurt or killed. But I can give you the tools to end this. Use them however you see fit. Just make him pay. He will. I promise you that. One more thing. Yolanda walked to a cabinet and pulled out an old photo album. She flipped to a picture of a young Andre, maybe early 20s, with a group of boys at what looked like a summer camp. That's from 1982, before we were married. Andre ran a camp for troubled youth. He was very involved, very hands-on. That camp closed after one season. 3 boys were hospitalized that summer for various accidents. Marcus stared at the photo. Young Andre's smile was the same. Too wide, too perfect, hiding something dark. He's been doing this since his 20s. Maybe longer. Probably longer. His father was the same way. Violent, cruel, but good at hiding it. Andre once told me his father taught him an important lesson. The world is full of prey, and smart predators never hunt in their own territory. Yolanda closed the album. That's why he's always so careful, so methodical. This is a lesson he learned young and perfected over decades. After leaving the Hartman estate, Marcus sat in his truck for 10 minutes, processing everything. Earl's voice crackled through his earpiece. You get all that? Every word. The recording is clean. She just handed you enough to destroy him. Not in court. She's right. This isn't enough for a criminal conviction. But it's enough for something else. Marcus drove to Troy's apartment, the USB drive burning in his pocket like a coal. Troy listened to the recording twice, his expression growing darker. We need to be smart about this, Troy finally said. If we release everything at once, Hartman's lawyers will bury it. Claim Yolanda was coerced, mentally ill, whatever. We need a strategy. What are you thinking? Death by 1,000 cuts. We start leaking information. Anonymous tips to journalists, whistleblower style. Nothing Hartman can trace back to us, but damaging enough to chip away at his reputation. Then, when he's vulnerable, we hit him with the big stuff. How long will that take? Weeks. Maybe a month. I don't have a month. The custody hearing for Danny is in 3 weeks. If Carla's lawyer convinces the judge I'm unstable and Andre is safe. Troy nodded slowly. Then we need to accelerate. Hit him hard and fast, all at once. But Marcus, that's risky. If it doesn't work, Hartman will know who came after him. He'll retaliate. Let him try. Over the next week, Marcus assembled his arsenal. Troy wrote a comprehensive expose detailing Andre's history of hurting children, carefully sourced to protect against libel. Earl gathered video evidence of Andre at the park, watching children. The families Marcus had visited agreed to go on record, NDAs be damned. And Yolanda's USB drive provided the financial proof that tied it all together. Detective Hammond, off the record, agreed that while the evidence wasn't enough for criminal charges, it would devastate Hartman's civil defenses. If even half of this gets out, Hammond said, Hartman's reputation is done. No amount of lawyers can spin away 7 different families with similar stories. The question is, what then? You sure you want to do this? I've never been more sure of anything. Then God help you both. The night before they planned to release everything, Marcus received an unexpected visitor. He opened his door to find Carla standing there, eyes red from crying. Can I come in? They sat in the living room that suddenly felt too big and empty. Carla twisted her wedding ring. She was still wearing it. Marcus noticed. I talked to my mother, Carla said quietly. She told me things. About my father. About my brother Lorenzo. Marcus waited. I don't remember Lorenzo clearly. I was only 5 when he died. But I remember being at the lake, remember screaming, remember my mother holding me back while paramedics worked on him. I remember my father standing there, not crying, just watching. Carla's voice broke. I've spent my whole life thinking I had a perfect father, that my memories of being afraid were just childish anxiety. But they weren't, were they? No. He hurt me too. I don't remember the details, but I remember the fear. The water. Being held down. She looked at Marcus with devastated eyes. And I let him do the same thing to Danny. I gave him Danny. Marcus wanted to rage at her, to blame her, to make her feel the pain he'd been carrying. But looking at his wife's broken expression, he understood. Carla was a victim too. A victim who'd been groomed to worship her abuser, to normalize his behavior, to become his enabler. What are you going to do? Carla asked. I'm going to destroy him. Completely. Will it bring Danny back? Will it fix what I've done? I don't know. But I know your father can't be allowed to hurt anyone else. Carla nodded slowly. Mom gave you the files. I know she did. She called me after, said it was time someone stopped him. She looked at Marcus. She asked me to give you something else. Carla handed him another USB drive. My therapy records. From when I was 13 to 16. I blocked out most of that time, but apparently I talked about a lot in therapy. The therapist kept detailed notes. If you want to use them. Carla, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because I failed Danny. I failed Lorenzo. I failed every kid my father hurt. The least I can do is help stop him now. She stood to leave, then paused. Marcus, when this is over, can we talk? About us. Maybe. First, let's save our son. After Carla left, Marcus plugged in the second USB drive. The therapy notes were devastating. A record of a terrified 13-year-old girl slowly being convinced by her therapist that her father's swimming lessons were normal, that her fear was irrational, that she needed to be brave like her father wanted. The therapist had been paid by Andre. Marcus added the notes to his arsenal and made a final call to Troy. We go tomorrow. You sure? I'm sure. Release everything. Every outlet you can reach. I want the story everywhere by noon. Consider it done. Marcus barely slept that night. He kept seeing Danny's blue lips, Carla's broken expression, Yolanda's tired eyes, the turned-down photo of Jamie Monroe. He thought about all the children Andre had hurt, all the families destroyed, all the lies told and money paid to maintain one man's reputation. Tomorrow, that reputation would burn. At 8 a.m., Troy's article went live on a major news website, Respected Developer's Dark Secret, a pattern of abuse spanning decades. Within an hour, it had been picked up by national outlets. By noon, 3 more families had come forward with similar stories. By 2 p.m., Andre Hartman was trending on social media. Marcus watched it unfold from his office, Earl beside him showing real-time surveillance of the Hartman estate. Reporters had already gathered outside. Andre's Lexus remained in the garage. He's going to come for you, Earl warned. This kind of man doesn't go down quietly. I'm counting on it. At 4 p.m., Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. You've made a very serious mistake, Mr. McDaniel. Andre's voice was cold, controlled. No pretense of friendliness now. You've slandered me, defamed me, spread vicious lies. Everything in that article is true, and you know it. What I know is that you're going to regret this. My lawyers are already drawing up papers. I'll sue you for everything you have. I'll make sure you never see Danny again. I'll destroy you. No, Andre. I'm going to destroy you. And here's how. Marcus pulled up the video Earl had prepared. Check your email. I just sent you something. There was silence, then the sound of typing, then a sharp intake of breath. The video was a compilation, surveillance footage of Andre watching children at the park, interviews with the 7 families, medical records, financial documents showing the payoffs, and finally, Yolanda's testimony. All of it edited into a damning 15-minute expose. This goes to the police in 1 hour, Marcus said, and then to every media outlet in the country. Unless what? Unless you confess. On camera. To everything. Danny, Lorenzo, all of it. Andre laughed. You're insane. I'll never do that. Then I released the video. Detective Hammond will have enough for a criminal investigation. Civil suits will follow. Your business partners will abandon you. Your country club will revoke your membership. Every charity you've donated to will return your money. You'll spend your last years being remembered as the monster you are. Or you confess, and I give you a choice. Take your own life, or go to prison. Either way, you lose everything. But one way, you control your exit. The other way, you die in a cell, forgotten and despised. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your news alerts. Your board of directors just called an emergency meeting. 3 of your biggest clients have already severed ties. Your lawyer, Theodore Alvarado, has released a statement saying his firm no longer represents you. It's already over, Andre. You just haven't realized it yet. The silence stretched. Marcus could hear breathing, ragged and harsh. You destroyed me, Andre finally said. Over a child. One pathetic, weak child. That child is my son. And you're right. I destroyed you. Completely. I won't give you the satisfaction of a confession. Then I guess you'll have to live with the consequences. Marcus hung up and nodded to Earl. Release the video. Within minutes, it was everywhere. News channels interrupted regular programming. Social media exploded. The story had everything: wealthy villain, innocent victims, decades of cover-ups. By evening, it was the top story in the nation. Detective Hammond called. McDaniel, I've got enough to arrest him now. Multiple witnesses, documented evidence, even his own wife's testimony. I'm heading to the Hartman estate now. I'm coming with you. No, you're not. This is police business. Hammond, let me do my job. You did yours. You brought me the evidence. You got the confession ready. Now step back and let justice happen. Marcus wanted to argue, but he knew Hammond was right. He'd done what he could. The rest was up to the system. Except the system didn't get its chance. At 8:47 p.m., Marcus's phone rang. Yolanda Hartman's number. Mr. McDaniel. Her voice was eerily calm. I thought you should know. Andre is dead. Marcus's heart stopped. What? He locked himself in his study around 5 p.m. I heard a gunshot 20 minutes ago. The police are here now. He left a note. She paused. It says he's sorry. That he knows what he is and can't live with it anymore. That he releases all the families from their NDAs and leaves his entire estate to be divided among his victims as compensation. Marcus sat down hard. He actually did it. You gave him 2 choices. He took the one that let him maintain some control. Yolanda's voice was sad, but not surprised. Andre couldn't stand being powerless. You understood that. You used it. I wanted him to suffer. I wanted him to face what he did. He is suffering. Wherever he is now, he's suffering. And the families will get compensation. The truth is out. It's more justice than any of his other victims ever got. After the call ended, Marcus sat in his dark office, trying to feel victorious. Andre Hartman was dead. The monster was gone. Justice was served. But all Marcus felt was tired. The next weeks blurred together. Andre's death was ruled a suicide. His note, along with Yolanda's testimony and the mountain of evidence, led to a full investigation into his past crimes. The police identified 11 victims total. Some hadn't come forward before. One was still a child, had been hurt just 6 months ago. Her parents had been paid off and threatened into silence. The Hartman estate was indeed divided among the victims' families. Danny received a trust fund that would pay for his therapy and college. The other families received enough to rebuild their lives. Yolanda Hartman died 3 months later, her cancer finally claiming her. Her funeral was small, just family and a few close friends. Marcus attended, sitting in the back. At the reception, Carla found him. Mom left you something. she said, handing him an envelope. Inside was a short note. Thank you for doing what I couldn't. You saved more lives than you know. Take care of my daughter and grandson. They need you. Weich. How's Danny? Marcus asked. Better. Slowly. The nightmares are less frequent. Carla met his eyes. He's asking about you. Wants to come home. Home. Our home. If you still want us. Marcus looked at his wife. She'd lost weight, looked older, but her eyes were clear in a way they hadn't been before. You believe me now? About everything. I always believed you. I just couldn't admit it. I was so desperate to keep believing my father was good that She stopped, tears flowing. I almost lost Danny. I almost lost you. Because I couldn't face the truth. We both lost things, Carla. But maybe we can rebuild. Can we? Marcus thought about it. About trust and forgiveness. About damage and repair. I don't know. But we can try. For Danny's sake, we can try. 3 months after Andre's death, Marcus sat in his backyard watching Danny play. His son was laughing, running around with Troy's nephew, acting like a normal 6-year-old. The nightmares still came sometimes, and Danny still flinched around water, but he was healing. Carla brought out lemonade and sat beside him. They didn't talk much these days, but they were learning. Relearning each other, rebuilding what had been broken. Earl stopped by unannounced, as was his habit. Thought you'd want to know. That last family that came forward? The one with the 6-year-old girl? They used their settlement money to start a foundation. They're calling it Lorenzo's Light. Helps families of abuse victims get therapy and legal support. That's good, Marcus said. Also, Hammond told me something interesting. Turns out Andre had a whole network. Other wealthy men who shared his interests. The investigation into his death led to 5 other arrests. 3 more are pending. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. So it wasn't just him. Never is. But because of what you did, because you wouldn't let it go, a lot of predators are off the streets now. After Earl left, Marcus sat alone as the sun set. He thought about the families he'd met, the lives destroyed and slowly rebuilt. He thought about Andre Hartman and the satisfaction he'd hoped to feel at the man's death. That satisfaction had never come. Just exhaustion and a hollow relief. But he also thought about Lorenzo's Light. About 5 arrests. About children who would never become victims because Andre Hartman's network had been exposed. Maybe that was enough. Danny ran over, grabbed his hand. Dad, come play with us. Marcus let his son pull him up, let himself be dragged into a game of tag, let himself smile for the first time in months. The past couldn't be undone. The damage couldn't be erased. But today, his son was alive and laughing. Today, that was enough. 6 months later, Marcus stood in a courtroom. The custody hearing had finally arrived. Carla sat beside him. They decided to present a united front. Across the aisle, a lawyer representing the state's Child Services Department reviewed her notes. Mr. McDaniel, the judge said, I've reviewed all the evidence, the police reports, the psychological evaluations. I've also read the statements from the families affected by Andre Hartman's crimes. What you did, exposing him, bringing him to justice, took considerable courage. I did what any father would do, Your Honor. Many fathers wouldn't have gone as far. Many wouldn't have had the resources or determination. The judge looked at Carla. Mrs. McDaniel, you've completed your court-mandated therapy? Yes, Your Honor. I'm also in ongoing treatment for complex PTSD. I've had to face some very difficult truths about my childhood and my father. And your relationship with your son? Danny and I are rebuilding our trust. It's slow, but we're making progress. He understands that I made mistakes, that I didn't protect him the way I should have. But he also knows I'm working every day to be better. The judge nodded, made some notes, then looked at both of them. In cases like this, my primary concern is the child's welfare. Danny has been through severe trauma. He needs stability, safety, and parents who are united in putting his needs first. She paused. I'm granting joint custody with the stipulation that Danny continues his therapy and that both parents participate in family counseling. Additionally, I'm issuing a permanent restraining order preventing any member of the Hartman family from having contact with Danny without both parents' written consent. Marcus felt relief wash over him. Not perfect, but good enough. Better than he'd hoped. Outside the courthouse, Troy was waiting. How'd it go? Joint custody. Mandatory therapy. Restraining order against the Hartmans. Could be worse. Could be a lot worse. They walked to a nearby coffee shop. Troy pulled out his laptop. I wanted to show you something. Remember how I said we should follow the money in Andre's empire? Yeah. Well, I did. And I found something interesting. Troy turned the screen. It showed a series of real estate transactions, all linked to shell companies. Andre Hartman owned 12 properties across 5 states. Guess what they all have in common? Marcus studied the addresses. They're all near schools or parks. Bingo. And get this, 3 of them were used by Andre's friends in his network, the ones who got arrested. These properties were basically hunting grounds. Jesus. The police have seized them all. They're being sold, proceeds going to victim compensation funds. But Marcus. Troy's expression was serious. The investigation is still ongoing. They think there might be more people involved. More victims. This thing goes deeper than anyone realized. Marcus thought about that. About networks of predators. About the children who'd never come forward. About the damage that spread like ripples in water. What can we do? Keep digging. Keep exposing them. I'm working on a follow-up piece. And Lorenzo's Light Foundation wants to hire me as their investigative consultant. They're committed to finding and stopping these networks. That's good. That's really good. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Troy asked, "Do you regret it? Any of it? Regret destroying Andre Hartman?" "No. I mean the way you did it. Pushing him to suicide. Some people are saying you went too far, that you're as bad as." "I'm nothing like him." Marcus's voice was hard. "I gave him a choice. Confess and face justice, or take himself out. He chose. And in doing so, he freed his victims and exposed his entire network. More children are safe because of what I did." "I know. I agree. But are you okay with it?" Marcus thought about that question. About the nightmares he still had. About the weight he carried. "I don't know if I'll ever be okay with it. But I'd do it again in a heartbeat. For Danny. For all those kids." "Fair enough." A year after Andre's death, Marcus received a call from Carol Chong. "Marcus? I wanted you to know, I went swimming yesterday. First time in 18 years. My therapist was with me, and I only went in up to my waist, but..." His voice cracked with emotion. "I did it. I actually did it. Carol, that's incredible. It's because of you. Because you showed me that we didn't have to let him win. That we could fight back, could reclaim our lives. Thank you." After the call ended, Marcus sat at his desk, staring at his architectural drawings. He'd neglected his business during the fight against Andre, but now he was rebuilding, designing homes for families, creating spaces where people could feel safe. Danny burst into his office, Carla behind him. They were going to the community center. Danny had agreed to take swimming lessons, real ones this time, with Carla and Marcus both present. "Ready, buddy?" Marcus asked. "I'm scared," Danny admitted. "But Mom says being brave means doing things even when you're scared." "Your mom's right." At the community center, Marcus and Carla sat in the observation area, while Danny joined a class of other 6-year-olds. The instructor was Lana Long, a woman in her 30s who'd been fully vetted and came highly recommended. "Okay, everyone," Lana called cheerfully. "We're going to start with blowing bubbles. Everyone comfortable." The kids nodded, including Danny. He looked nervous but determined. Marcus watched his son take a deep breath and dip his face in the water, exhaling slowly. Carla grabbed Marcus's hand. "He's doing it." "Yeah, he is." They sat together, watching their son reclaim something that had been taken from him. It was a small victory, just one step in a long journey. But it was a victory nonetheless. That night, after Danny was asleep, Marcus stood in his backyard looking at the stars. His phone buzzed, a message from Earl. "That last guy in Hartman's network went down today. Arrested on multiple counts. The whole group is done. You did it." Marcus stared at the message. The monster was dead. His network was destroyed. Justice had been served. But the real victory wasn't in destroying Andre Hartman. It was in the family's slowly healing, in Carol Chong swimming again, in Danny laughing and playing and slowly learning to trust the world again. The real victory was in refusing to let evil win. Marcus typed back, "We all did it. Together." He went inside, checked on Danny one more time. His son sleeping peacefully, no nightmares tonight, and then joined Carla in their bedroom. They still slept in the same bed, though they were taking things slow, rebuilding their relationship piece by piece. "You okay?" Carla asked softly. "Yeah, I think I am." "Good." She curled against him. "Because I need you to be okay. Danny needs you to be okay. I know. I'm proud of you, Marcus. Of what you did. Of who you are." Marcus closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the past year finally start to lift. He'd destroyed a monster. He'd saved his son. He'd helped dismantle a network of predators. And he'd done it all without losing himself in the process. That was worth more than any revenge. That was justice. And sometimes, justice was enough. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.